Hi, my name is Christopher and I'm an 8th grade student in Pennsylvania. The legislative, executive, and judicial branches are three main branches of the government in the United States of America, and they affect my everyday life and future. In this video, I will show you the main functions of the three branches of government, how they work, and how it affects our everyday life. The first branch we will touch on is the legislative branch. The main function of the legislative branch is to make laws which are created in the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Some other functions that they have are the control of the spending of the United States government, and they can also impeach or formally remove the president if he or she has done any wrongdoing. The legislative branch is also known as Congress, which is made up of the House of Representatives and the Senate. Because of the legislative body is made up of the House of Representatives and the Senate chambers, it is known as a bicameral government. This is for both chambers, Senate and House, control the legislative branch. The reason for having a bicameral government with the House and Senate are because in 1787, during the Constitution Convention, the state of Virginia came up with a plan to be represented by population in Congress, since they were a big state. But New Jersey came up with a plan that would give smaller states equal representation in Congress by giving each state a vote in Congress. Then the state of Connecticut came up with a plan that would satisfy both sides with a House of Representatives that would represent each state by population and a Senate that would have two people representing a state. Now let's go into the two chambers of Congress in depth. The first chamber of Congress is the House of Representatives, which has representatives from every state in the United States. Each state has a different number of representatives because it's based on population of a state. For around every 700,000 people, there will be one representative. For example, California has a population of 39.5 million people in 2018. Therefore, they have 53 representatives in their state. But the state of Wyoming has a population of 577,000 people in 2018. Therefore, they only have one representative. In total, the House of Representatives has 435 members from every state in the U.S. Members of the House are voted in by the people in the state they represent, and must be at least 25 years of age and has lived in the United States for 7 years. Someone who is currently in the House of Representatives is Democrat Nancy Pelosi, who is the head speaker of the House. Nancy's job is to ensure that the bills are passed into law when they are voted in by the majority. Nancy is also very influential in the Democratic Party. Now the Senate has 100 members, with 2 coming from each state. The Senate is opposite of the House with equal representation from each state, while the House of Representatives is by population. Senators are voted in and must be at least 30 years of age. They also represent the state they reside in. As of 2019, Republicans control the Senate, and their majority leader is Mitch McConnell. Even though they are from different parties and states, both chambers of Congress try to work together. Some of the powers that they have are that both senators and representatives can introduce bills that can become future laws, and the Senate can also approve or deny people that the president appoints into office. Bills are turned into laws starting in the House of Representatives. If the majority in the House vote for the bill, then it is sent to the Senate. If the majority in the Senate votes towards the bill, then it is sent to the president. Because of checks and balances, the president can either ratify the bill or veto it. Ratify means to make it an active law, and veto means to kill the bill. Congress can then overrule the veto if 2/3 of the majority agree on the bill, and it automatically becomes a law. Amendments are articles that are added to the United States Constitution and are the rights of anyone living in the U.S. Amendments are ratified by 2/3 of the House and Senate agreeing on the amendment, and then 3/4 of the U.S. state agreeing on the amendment. Amendments are very hard to ratify, but they are made every once in a while. An example of one is the First Amendment, giving freedom of religion, speech, and press. This wraps up the legislative branch, and next we will go on to the executive. The executive branch is the second branch of the government we will be focusing on. The main function of the executive branch is to carry out laws made in the Capitol and to recommend new laws needed in the United States. The main roles in the branch are President, Vice President, his or her cabinet, who help make the president make decisions, from education to homeland security. The executive branch also deals with other nations and how to keep our country safe. In the executive branch, we will mainly focus on the president. As of 2019, Donald Trump is our president and commander-in-chief of the military and keeps our nation safe. The president has 5 main powers, which are: 1. He is the commander-in-chief of the U.S. military. 2. With the Senate approving, the president can appoint leaders of federal agencies and fire them. For example, President Trump fired Anthony Scaramucci, the former White House communications director. 3. The president can appoint Supreme Court judges with the approval of the Senate. 4. POTUS can also pardon or pass without punishment for a crime unless it's an impeachment case. 5. Congress can show the president a bill and he or she can either sign it or veto it. Veto means to not be a law, but after Congress can overturn the veto if 2/3 of Congress agrees with the bill. Then no matter what the president says, the bill is a law. And this concludes the executive branch. Next we will focus on the judicial branch. The judicial branch is the branch of our government that includes the Supreme Court of the United States and all of the lower courts. The main function of the judicial branch is to interpret laws if they are constitutional or not. Another power of the Supreme Court is that they can declare laws made in Congress unconstitutional or not in line with the U.S. Constitution as a part of checks and balances. The judicial branch also includes criminal and civil courts in the U.S. But then there are also states' rights, which are powers held by the U.S. states that the federal government cannot touch. For example, marijuana is illegal under the federal government, but in California, marijuana is legal. This is because California has a right to marijuana and the federal government cannot do anything about it. The United States Supreme Court hears cases from criminal cases to civil cases. The Supreme Court does not have to hear a case. If the Supreme Court does decide to hear a case, it will either be civil or criminal. A criminal case could be federal tax evasion or kidnapping. Civil cases could be claims against the United States government and cases involving constitutional rights. In the United States, the Supreme Court is the highest court in the land. All of the smaller courts follow the path of the Supreme Court. The makeup of the Supreme Court is that all of the judges are called justices. Supreme Court justices serve until they resign or die and are appointed by the President and confirmed by the Senate. As a part of checks and balances, there are 8 associate justices in the Supreme Court and 1 Chief Justice who is currently John Roberts. A person in the Supreme Court today is Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who is currently 86 years old in 2019. She has more liberal views and does not get along with President Trump real well, so she is holding on until the next election. The reason why she is holding on is because if she resigned, President Trump would be able to elect a more conservative justice that would be able to serve for life. If Ruth resigned, most likely Roe v. Wade would be overturned, which would make abortion illegal in the United States. This shows how important a Supreme Court justice is and how it can affect the country.